Hi, everyone. This is acyuta-bhava from Nightlight Astrology. Happy Friday, everybody. Today, we're going to talk about the Aries ingress, which is happening today into tomorrow. So, depending on where you're at, of course, I'm going to go ahead and put it up on the screen so that you can see it. This is a big moment in the zodiacal year. I always tell people, regardless of where you're at, which hemisphere you're in, the Aries ingress is something to pay attention to. Represents a big shift in the astrology. So, we're going to go ahead and take a look at it today. Let me back up my real-time clock here. So you're going to see that by tomorrow, the sun will have ingressed tomorrow morning early here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The sun has ingressed into Aries. Now, a couple of things that are happening simultaneously. One is that you have Venus preparing to conjoin the sun and go through its rebirth. Venus is going to start emerging as the evening star again. But between, say, the 22nd and the 28th, you're going to see them go through this dance together. Very strong. Here they are. Cazimi, the heart of the sun, by next Friday. So there is a Venus-Sun conjunction happening. Now, at the same time that Venus is being reborn, something else is happening that's very important, which is the sun is moving into harmonization with the degree marker of the Great Conjunction by a sextile. So the Great Conjunction happened at the winter solstice or the Capricorn ingress back in December. We had Jupiter and Saturn conjoining at 0 Aquarius. So let's go back and take a look at that. If we back this up to December, here's what I want you to notice. As we put the sun into the 0 degree marker of Capricorn, there's Jupiter and Saturn conjoining. Now, this is an old Jupiter and Saturn because they are about to receive the conjunction from the sun, which in a sense means they're late in their life cycle and their synodic cycle. So this was the beginning of a new era, but also marked by something old, marked by something that is ready to change. So the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is it's like a little deceptive because yes, it marks the beginning of a new era that's about 20 years long between these great conjunctions. And there should be a lot of reasons to be hopeful about that, a pretty powerful new beginning. At the same time, this is a new beginning marked by the need for something old to die or be replaced or to be systematically changed. And you can see this because watch what happens with the sun. Right in the weeks ahead, the sun is going to go within, a month or so of the Great Conjunction. The sun conjoins these planets, which means he burns them up, and they're in a sense, it's like the picture of someone who's very old or late in life. And from that moment on, this was late January, the sun has been separating. Now, the sun, after it separates, means we start getting Jupiter and Saturn as morning stars. I'll show you. So if I back this, let me just eliminate a bunch of stuff from my perspective. So check this out. All right, so here's the sun rising, and you can see that when the sun has risen, this is in February, that here's Jupiter and Saturn up in the eastern sky. So after the sun passes over those planets, they are effectively born as morning stars. Now, if you were to back this up, say to December, when the transit first came along, here's the two planets conjoining as the sun ingresses into Capricorn. It's totally different. Watch where they land if I go to the setting of the sun. So here the sun has set below the horizon, right there. It's below the horizon. And here is Jupiter and Saturn as evening stars in the west. So that's a symbol of them being old. It's like a sign of an older person and the beginning of something marked by, say, someone who is older. But this thing is in the process of dying or changing. So it's almost as though there is the promise of a new beginning, but the need to make a lot of immediate changes or revisions, or almost like it's like taking over a company, right? Let's say that you buy a company from someone, and you basically have to rebuild it from the ground floor to make it successful. So there's a sense of newness and promise, but also the immediate task of renovation. That's sort of what Jupiter and Saturn are faced with here, because they're dying as they're also marking the beginning of this new era. Now that's really interesting, right? Now take this forward to today and look at what's happening now. This is why it's so significant, because since that rebirth has happened, the sun has not had the ability to see Jupiter and Saturn by a whole sign aspect. So now, as the sun ingresses into its exaltation in Aries, it is seeing Jupiter and Saturn through a sextile. Sextiles are of the nature of Venus, which means harmonizing. So this is a very favorable placement to be looking at on the Aries ingress. It means that things that have been promised, the new era that we've been hoping for since the winter solstice, is going to start gaining some real traction and momentum. That's what's so brilliant about this Aries ingress, is that now you're seeing Jupiter and Saturn as morning stars, young, rebuilding, revitalizing, and the sun is providing this supportive, harmonizing, and very assertive energy behind it. And this is really the first time that we've had this kind of energy since the Great Conjunction in December. So, all of that being said, what else makes this important? A few other things. Let's, for example, take a look at Venus. Now, Venus, as this ingress is happening, is also about to go into its rebirth with the sun, which is a way of saying, oh, look, there's something being reborn in the Venusian realm of things. Your social life, relationships, the workplace. And now at the exact same time, remember, both of these planets are in Mars's sign. What is Mars doing? Well, let's put all the planets back in now and just take a look at what Mars is doing that's so unique. As this is happening, remember, we drew a line not long ago in one of my videos and said that there is a yoga in Indian astrology. And I had just read about it. I'd heard about it before, but then I had read about it and was made aware of the fact that this was happening in the sky by another astrologer named Frederick Woodruff, I believe his name is. Anyway, so you can see that at the same time, Mars is about to break outside of the containment of the nodes, where all the planets are inside the nodes, and Mars, the god of action, is about to break through them. As Venus is being reborn with the sun in Aries, the sign of Mars, and as that sun is moving through a sextile to the Great Conjunction degree with positive aspect to Jupiter and Saturn and what they're trying to do here. So the way that I read this is, look, whatever you have been in the process of trying to create, or whatever process you've been waiting on, whatever process you have been patiently watching, if there has been the need to, like I said, like you almost imagine that there's a metaphor somewhere in your life, there's been the need to, there's kind of a new beginning, but it's been delayed, it's been slow, it's been gradual, you've been waiting on a lot of things. You should probably feel the momentum of this transit picking up very seriously here by the end of March. This Aries ingress is pushing things a good amount here. So watch then, if we go forward to about the 28th, right at the full moon, you're going to see Mars on the 28th break through the containment of the North Node. I use the mean node, so this might be a little different if you're using the true node, but now at the same time, you're seeing the moon in Venus's sign, full moon in Libra in Venus's sign, and opposite its own host, Venus. So the only beware of this, because this to me, if I'm stepping back from this, I just go, wow, this looks like, killer momentum helping us move forward, and things that have been young and developmental and, kind of a rebuilding, a regenerating process. There's all this promise, but it feels like it's been stalled or delayed. You're going to see it really start to take off. From this moment of the Aries ingress through the end of this month, and then through April as well, while the sun keeps pushing through Aries and hitting the sextiles to Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius and so forth. So it's a big turning point, which I really like. What is my beware of this? It's just that Venus is debilitated in Aries. The full moon is in Libra opposite Venus in Aries. I feel like there's energies that need to break loose right now, and they could steamroll other people. There could be conflicts, or almost like, it's It reminds me of a little bit. What comes to my mind is Christmas morning with my girls. You know, I would really like them to just like maybe can we have a little bit of breakfast before we just go manically destroy the living room with the gifts and the paper everywhere. And but no, it's like they're kids and they have very little what is it, negotiating. The ability to negotiate is very low as soon as they realize it's Christmas morning and they wake up. The energy is so strong, it's so forward moving. And my wife and I, we just kind of go, okay, well, it's like we don't need it. We can just eat breakfast after we just kind of we just give up, right? I would pick your battles very carefully right now because there's so much energy that's just going to start unleashing, like loosening itself, and that's going to steamroll some people. It's a little bit like energetic Christmas morning. You have to have some patience, that there's a lot of energy that's going to be released in terms of being patient with other people. You also have to be patient with yourself and know that even though there's this big release of energy that's happening, relationships could get harmed in the process, or impatience, lack of tact, grace, or harmony could sabotage a moment that should really be about positive momentum. It's almost like just don't skip over decorum. Don't skip over etiquette. Don't skip over politeness, and don't skip over other people's feelings, even if there's a sense of big full release that's been waiting a while to come that is suddenly at hand. I think that's the main thing I have to say about this. I would think that Mars trining Saturn by Monday, that even though the Aries ingress is tomorrow, I would really watch for this energy, this kind of release to be taking place early next week, by the end of next week, and through the full moon at the end of the month on the 28th. So I look at this right now as about a 10-day process in front of us, but some pretty big energetic releases coming. I'm looking forward to it because it feels to me like it might be one of the first glimpses we get at what the promise of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is about. Look, you got Jupiter-Saturn that came in and then they immediately went through combustion and sort of died and had to be reborn. And they haven't had the support of the sun as morning stars since then. So it just feels like a moment of constructiveness. There's a hexagram in the I Ching, I think it's 40, and it's called Liberation. And it's just the depiction of the picture of a storm cloud bursting open at long last. And that's what it feels like energetically. So you just want to be sure that in that moment that you are not pushing your sister down the stairs. Yeah. Okay. So happy Friday, everybody. I hope that you guys have a really great Aries ingress. Tell me your stories. How are you doing? Also, I'd love to hear from, people who are in the Southern Hemisphere. How do you, I mean, obviously you're not synced up with a spring equinox down there, but I do believe that this energetic quality I have my clients all over the world for 10 years. I think astrology, even though the language is relatively oriented from people who came from the Northern Hemisphere, I see it as something that works globally. So I'd love to hear your experiences about how do you experience this shift, even if you're not synced up with spring, say, in the Southern Hemisphere. So tell me your stories. All right. I hope you guys have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Take it easy, everyone. Bye.